Heading into week 8 of the fantasy football season, I have the almost impossible task of trying to tell you who to start and sit at the tight end position. It's been an absolute mess this year, same as every year before, and I'm going to try and look at some trends and give you some good advice on starts and sits. Now, why don't you like this video, subscribe if you like the content, comment down below your hardest start-sit decision of the week. Teams on bye, Chiefs and Chargers, so you have no Travis Kelce, you have no Gerald Everett this week. My first start of the week is Irv Smith versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals, this is a really good matchup for tight ends. They're easily exploited through the tight end position. They currently give up the second most points to fantasy tight ends. And the last time I did this video, which was week 6, Irv was my start of the week as well. He had a touchdown in that game versus Miami. And I thought, man, this is really a smash start of the week. Had a touchdown on 4 targets. The kicker, he only had 7 yards. So he still finished with 9.7 points, a pretty decent outing. But the good news is he's being targeted, since week 2, he hasn't had under 4 targets. He's being targeted in a very good offense that is pass heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and say Irv Smith, again, a start of the week. Athletic tight end can always get involved. And if he caught that one touchdown, that deep long ball versus Philadelphia, we could be talking about him a little bit differently. My second start of the week, and this is very dependent on the status of Adam Troutman. I'm assuming Adam Troutman doesn't play, but I could be wrong. Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson. I think these both are guys that you could potentially start. Now, Taysom Hill is an auto start. Let's get that out of the way. You can start him because he's a part of the package no matter what on the goal line. He's going to get anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 rushing attempts every game and maybe a reception or 2. Juwan Johnson's the interesting one. If Michael Thomas is out, if Jarvis Landry's out, if Adam Troutman's out, he is a good start purely because of necessity. You look at last week versus the Cardinals, he had 5 catches on 5 targets for 32 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, will he get those touchdowns again? I'm not sure, but if any tight end that can get 5 to 6 targets is someone that you should consider starting. So Juwan Johnson, again, if Troutman's back, if Landry's back, if Thomas is back, you can't start Juwan. But regardless, you can start Taysom Hill. They go up against the Raiders, and Las Vegas currently gives up the 4th most points to the position in fantasy, so it's a very beatable matchup. I like this matchup for these Saints tight ends. All right, number 3 start of the week is Mike Gesicki. Interesting year for him. It has been really up and really down. My worry for Mike Gesicki was, what will his usage be when Tua comes back? Because Tua hasn't targeted Mike at all, when he's been healthy. Last week versus the Steelers, in a positive game script, I might say, Mike Gesicki had 7 targets. So that gives me a lot of hope to go out there and start him this week in a very good matchup versus the Detroit Lions, which are very beatable through the tight end position. So Mike is someone I'm willing to start. Not sure the status of Jalen Waddle. I'm sure he'll be fine with his shoulder that he continues to rehab. But Mike Gesicki seems to be a part of this game plan, and he's one of those rare tight ends that can score multiple touchdowns on any week. So I'll take a shot on him this week. At number 4, let's start Zach Ertz, who has quietly been one of the best tight ends in all of fantasy football. In PPR, he is currently the tight end 3. He's only had 1 week, which was last week, where he had under 10 fantasy points. And the key context to last week's game is that the Cardinals scored the most points they ever scored the entire season, right, with 42. But 14 of those points came from back-to-back pick 6s from Andy Dalton. And the Cardinals had a lead heading into halftime of 2 touchdowns. That is not the game script that we anticipate Zach Ertz and this Cardinals team being in on a weekly basis. That game script led to Kyler Murray's lowest pass attempts, of any game this year, and it led to the 2nd highest amount of rushing attempts of any game this year for the Cardinals. So there should be a much more even game script, or potentially negative game script, as Minnesota comes to town. And Minnesota currently gives up the 6th most points to the fantasy tight end position. So let's start Irv again. Don't worry about it. He's going to be more involved. I'm putting him out there at least. All right, let's talk about my 2 sits of the week. First is Robert Bobby Tonyan at the Buffalo Bills. And I know Lazard is out, but this is more about matchup for me. And look, if you have people on bye and Tonyan's your only guy, I get it. Go ahead and start him. But if you have a more favorable matchup, maybe chase that instead of this one. The Bills give up the 11th fewest points to the position. I mean, this is a defense that is not easily beaten. And despite getting 12 targets in week 6 versus the Jets, Tonyan came out versus Washington, who he should have dominated. This team should have dominated, and only had 3 receptions on 4 targets. So Tonyan is never going to be outside of the boom bust category. That's just the reality. My second sit of the week is from the same matchup, which is Dawson Knox. He goes up against Green Bay. They give up the 3rd fewest points to the position. Knox, his last time out versus Kansas City, had 3 catches and a touchdown. It's touchdown or bust with Dawson Knox. In every game where he hasn't scored a touchdown, he hasn't scored over 9 fantasy points. So unless you think he's going to get a touchdown this week, this is not someone that you really want to start. He's very definition of boom or bust without a touchdown. Those are my starts and my sits at the tight end position. Why don't you comment down below? Tell me things that you like, that you dislike. Like, subscribe the video, and good luck this week.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.